Hi, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Navs Effect podcast. I'm your host, Naveen Ganglani. We got a fun one coming today. New UE Red Warriors head coach Chris Gavina will be joining us shortly to kind of discuss what his plans might be for the UE Red Warriors in this new era of University of the East basketball. Before we get started, a big thank you to everyone who tuned in to our last episode with Anthony Brodette of Phenom Championship Clinic, Phenom Sports Management to some people. He kind of gave a good insight into what it's like being a sports agent, particularly in the college basketball scene in the Philippines today. Great stories about these players, his thoughts about what's happening in Philippine basketball. So if you're a fan about college hoops and what goes on behind the scenes, what's the process, how do managers exactly do their thing, well, that's the episode for you to check out. Nico Rocha, a popular guest, sometimes co host of this podcast, will be joining us shortly. He will join me in speaking with Coach Chris Gavina. So, a lot to get into, a lot to unpack, a lot of stories to share, I hope, moments from now. So, we'll bring them on in the stage not long from now. But first, we're going to take a quick break. Don't go anywhere because we shall be right back. Okay, welcome back, everybody. That was our little new opening intro music. Hope you guys liked it. We're gonna bring Nico on the stage, and then shortly, Coach Chris will be joining along. So, funny story actually. By now, some of you know that I flew to NBA All Star Weekend in San Francisco, and my trip kind of got off to a very busy start. The reason why that was because literally in the lounge while waiting for my flight, as we welcome Nico to the show, in the lounge before I got in my flight, I ran into one of my friends and sources from UE. Nico, I think I might have shared this story with you when we met each other over the weekend, but I'm just gonna retell the story now because it's like a good little prologue before we get to our episode with Coach Chris. So, this source of mine had been actually ignoring my calls and my messages for a few weeks. And understandably so, in my profession, it involves a lot of communicating and reaching out to sources and friends to try to gather information. And sometimes when they don't reply or they don't get back to me right away, I understand because there are things they're just not allowed to say. There are things they're not allowed to share, which goes with the territory of having a role for a team in college basketball. But then when I saw him, I was like, "Ooh, so you've kind of been ignoring my calls lately." We had a laugh about it. And that morning, before he was set to fly too, he told me that on that same day, Coach Chris Gavina would be signing his contract to be the next head coach of UE. So how ironic. The timing was weirdly just fitting. It just worked out. But I was able to get that story out there, and right away, I felt the excitement from the UE community. I think Coach Chris was someone that they were hoping they'd get. It was him or Coach Josh. Well, some people wanted Coach Josh, others had their certain reservations about it. But there is going to be a bit of a learning curve, I think, for Coach Chris as he enters the UAP scene. The recruitment is different, the coaching is a little different, and the development and the behind the scenes stuff, they're all like layers and layers in college basketball that you just can't ignore. It's part of it. But if there's someone who I think is ready for the job, it's Coach Chris. If you missed it, our episode with Brody the other day, he did say that as of right now, Precious Momaway and John Abate are training with UE. They're giving it a shot. They're checking out how this new system and dynamic is going to work. So if they stay, obviously, I think that still makes UE a potential Final Four contender. They're adding an experienced, talented head coach into the mix, trying to come up with a system that will allow UE not to falter like they did late last UAP season. Because don't forget, they got off to a really good start, 5-2 after the first round, and then they just really lost their rhythm and mojo there in the second round, and then they got eliminated in the playoff against Adamson. But perhaps with a different guide, a different energy surrounding the team, and Coach Chris tends to be really good. I saw it firsthand with his work with the Phil Am Nation squad that won NBTC last year. I think there's high potential here for UE to catch a lot of teams by surprise, and who knows, maybe break into that Final Four scene. Because look, we obviously got UP LaSalle. They're gonna come in as the favorites on paper, given their roles in the finals of the UAP the last 2 years and the talent they have. UST will be a factor. I think NU, if healthy, will also be a factor, and we can't rule out FEU on the rise, one of the better young teams in college basketball. But just don't sleep on UE. I think UE is going to be a problem for a handful of teams. All right, we are going to take another quick break, and then shortly from now, we will have our special guests on the podcast. Okay, everybody, we are now joined by new UE Red Warriors head coach Chris Gavina. Coach Chris is with us on a Monday evening at 6 p.m. We'll try to get Nico on shortly. He is just having some internet issues right now. Coach Chris, welcome to the Now's Effect podcast. It's your debut, and we're excited to have you. I know that you have been busy with the UE Red Warriors as of late. However, you're getting things running. People seem to be excited. The players seem to be re energized. And the community, despite the UAAP still being months away, the community is already eager to see what changes and what differences they're going to feel and they're going to see for their favorite basketball team. So, Coach Chris, welcome. Why don't you tell us what life has been like since officially becoming the head coach of the University of the East? I think you're muted, Coach. Still muted, Coach. All right, we'll
Hello,
wait
can you
for.
hear me?
There we go. Now we can hear you. How's it
All
going,
right.
Coach?
I apologize. I apologize.
That's all good. So, how's it been like since the head coach role started for you at UE?
Like you said, there's some of these guys I feel like needed some fresh air, and great energy for the first week of practice last week, and just having guys really buy in right away was a really great plus for me and the staff, and just establishing our culture of how we're going to be identified has been really great so far. The feedback's been good from everybody. Been really engaging with the community. I've been walking around all over campus, just having saying hi to everybody, making sure everybody knows who I am, and I'm trying to get to know the staff. I also actually got to meet all the other head coaches at UE, so that was a great opportunity for me to reach out and sit in one of their staff meetings and really just say thanks for having me, and I'm looking forward to what we're going to accomplish there.
So you're really embracing the culture and the community of University of the East. You're kind of throwing yourself into that to get to know the people who you and your boys will be playing for. Is that important to you in your role as a head coach? And is that something that is particularly important because it's a college team, right? And the energy of a college team is different from a pro team. You've had your experience coaching pro teams here in the Philippines, but now you'll be representing not just a corporation, not just yourself, not just another business. You'll be representing a university that's been around, before you were born, before I was born, before many of us were born. You'll be representing the alumni, the students, all those who have worn that jersey before you guys. So is there an extra layer of pride but also pressure in knowing that?
Oh, for sure. There's a rich history of basketball excellence that's already occurred at UE, like you said, even before I was born and even before I got back here to the United States. I mean, go back here from the Philippines, from the United States. When the job was offered to me, obviously I did my research of, finding out the, the lore of UE. You have to, I was amazed at the fact that I learned that they had 18 championships as a team, and Baby Dalupan won seven straight at one point, 12 altogether. And I won, in my opinion, when I looked at that record by Baby Dalupan, it got me really inspired because the UAAP vibes, the energy at games is just different than, like you said, PBA games. It's not for me. It's not as embraced as much for community because it's not per city in the PBA. It's per company. I kind of experienced this a little bit when I was in Taiwan when I was representing Taichung, and when you represent a city, or like now myself, I'm representing a university. The community embraces you when you embrace them, and
Mm.
the more you engage with them, they want to support you. They want you to be successful at the end of the day. I mean, who wants to really hate on their alum on their former alma mater. You know what I'm saying? Like, so everybody's been really welcoming, and I've been getting great you know greetings from everybody on what's to come for UE, and I'm looking forward to everything that's gonna happen in the future.
I'm sure the fans are looking forward to it as well. So let's go back to the start. Did you apply for the UE coaching job, or did they approach you to ask if you were interested? Now, we had a lot of reports coming from different places about the coaching search. We heard some of the popular names in the college basketball and the basketball scene in the Philippines as part of the search. Obviously, you, one of them. One coach, he confirmed to me he applied as well. Coach Clive Castillo, who is from abroad too. Coach Eric Altamirano applied before he backed out. Josh Reyes, of course, was probably, along with you, the front runner for the job. And you had other names there too, like Coach Ariel Vanguardia, and I believe Boise Summer also was considered. But what was the process like? If I'm not mistaken, there was a panel of 5 to 7 people who heard pitches, and I heard different tales of what some coaches were proposing to the team about how they would steer the ship if they became the head coach of UE. For example, I heard that with Coach Josh Reyes, he leaned a little bit on the analytics side of things about implementing analytics and numbers in the game of basketball and team building. So I know you're one of the forward-thinking coaches that we've had. You study basketball, you love it. You have a camp that you run in the weekends. You you learn 5 out schemes, you learn modern defensive coverages. So your pitch to the school, did it factor more into the, for the lack of a better term, nerdy side of basketball with the analytics and the data and whatnot? Or did you go with the old school approach when it comes to team building, which is, putting together a group of tough basketball players? Where you focus on development, meaning, okay, we might not have the best players now, but in 3 years after training them, whipping them into shape every day, we'll have a contender ready. What was your mindset entering that pitch?
Um, just like any level of preparation, you got to kind of attack it in a three-pronged way, I feel. With UE, you kind of had to address what they've lacked. I actually asked my first question to the panel was, um, where do you see the program? What do you guys see has been lacking? Just to engage their personal thoughts before I even got started. Um, and hearing the panel out, you automatically just sense the level of frustration. One, two, of that anguish of being almost there, of reaching the Final Four after I believe 16 years, I think it was, since they got there, and the little pitfalls that they want to avoid was obviously brought up. And so as I got prepared for this meeting, yeah, I mean, analytics does play a side now, like you said. If you really got to know how to filter these stats out, like these softwares like Instat, Huddle. I already got introduced to them while I was in Taiwan. And if you have the right people really, monitoring the information that's provided, you can utilize it. I'm sure a couple of PBA teams and a couple of a couple of UAAP teams have already dabbled in it. And I mean, it's a forward kind of thinking in regards to how you approach game plan. Obviously, you can look at shot charts when you're looking at statistics and say, okay, this team doesn't shoot well from the left corner, so we can peel off the corner, or this team doesn't shoot from mid range very well, so we can play drop coverage. So you can kind of use those numbers to your advantage when you're creating a game plan, like you said. I think for UE, my pitch was basically there's no shortcuts to success. right? In any field, and basketball especially. And you try to create shortcuts, it'll fall apart when you need something to lean on, and your foundation is really lacking, especially your culture. Um, as you know, I'm big on culture. Of right now, I'm emphasizing to the team of our core values of courage, attitude, respect, and effort. Um, so you really have to start from there and build from that. And that was my pitch to the panel, that I'm not going to go in and say I'm the most, um, uh, let's say, coach that has won multiple championships. I I don't have 30 plus years of coaching experience like some of the coaches that you mentioned, Coach Eric Altamirano, who I admire, who helped start my coaching career. Coach Boise Samar, I'm great friends with him at San Miguel. I got the honor of coaching his son, so I know how. And he got to coach at UE also, and his true red bloodedness of wanting just the best for UE, I think, is what really drove myself in this pitch. And that's all I really nailed down, kept hitting on the head on a nail about. Although the resources may not be compared to the top programs per se, we can overcome that by finding ways of maximizing who we have, and developing them to their maximum strengths. Everyone's gonna have weaknesses, but just finding ways of putting these guys in the puzzle, I think, was my way of piecing it all together. What I'd bring to the to the UE program.
Based on the conversations you had with the panelists and the members of the school and the management looking for its next leader, its next head coach, what kind of sense did you get in terms of the leader and the qualities of this leader that they were looking for? Were they looking for someone who would bring a nuanced, kind of unique, out of the box method in team building, or are they looking for someone who, as you said, in the simplest way possible, just build a culture of sustained success? What was the, for the, I guess to put it simply, what was the energy in the room that you got out of the people who were deliberating whether or not to give you this job?
Uh, I feel some of the energy in the room was kind of telling me that they wanted somebody that would instill a great deal of discipline and align the program's goals and vision right along with the mission and vision of the UE community, which is create leaders that's that are all based off hard work ethic, and those are the vision of UE, creating those leaders on and off the court. Uh, I don't. This is my probably first time talking to you, but I'm sure you heard stories like I don't take anything from nobody. That's one of the first things I told our players, where leave your egos at the door. Nobody's ego should be bigger than mine.
Mm-hmm.
But and at the same time, just I come from a blue collar family, so that's all I understand to do. Just outwork. I haven't been hired because I'm from a privileged opportunities because of my history and my background, or some backing level. It's been all based on merit, to be honest with you. And I think they like my genuineness and my ability to kind of stress the fact that if we need discipline to be put down, it's gonna happen. Like I told them, if guys aren't wearing uniforms, I will throw them out of practice. I won't even let them come in. I already told my team that, actually. Don't even show up to practice, but you don't have UE gear on. You better take pride in it every single day. So I think little things like that is what kind of set the tone right away for me.
You're big on discipline. like you said. And an example you just provided was making sure that your players wore UE, University of the East gear at practice, which I believe is your way of reminding them to some degree this is what you're playing for, this is what we're all coming here for, this is what we're holding ourselves accountable to. But what are some of the other, shall we say, again, nuanced, rules or items you want to enforce? Like, are you going to be strict about your players' diet? Are you going to be strict about how often they're in the weight room? Are you going to be strict about curfew, where they live, what they do outside the court? What are your, shall we say, hmm, undisputed rules that have to be followed no matter what?
Honestly, I really don't have too many non-negotiable rules. Two that I did share with them was this. I told them memorize this phrase: if you're early, you're on time. If you're on
Uh,
time, you're late. And if you're
I
late,
like that.
I will forget about you. So I said, make
Oh.
sure you memorize that in regards to what I feel when you're late. Like I never feel like a person should value their time more valuable than mine or the rest of the team. So that's one. Secondly, another one of my rules that I stress to them: I don't want any victims here. We will have a victimless mentality, meaning we don't pass on accountability to anybody but ourselves. So, for example, I told them if you're failing in class, don't blame your professors, don't blame your girlfriend for not giving you your work. Get it done on time. Do what you're supposed to do. Or like if you're not getting any calls, we're not gonna act all like a child ranting. We're gonna accept it and move forward and learn from it. So those really to me were my non-negotiable rules going into practice. And really other all that other stuff, I told them you are grown men. I am not your babysitter. I am your head coach. Don't forget that. What you guys do, what your decisions are, you are a collection of your decisions, and whatever those decisions are, there's consequences to it, and you're just gonna have to own up to it as it comes along. So I think it sets the tone right away of what I want, and and be responsible for what you do. If you want to go out and drink and have fun, but then you come to my practice hungover. I mean, I've been there. I've been through some college parties. I've done it. So you better expect me to be making you throw up at practice just to send a message to you.
So has anyone been late to practice yet since you applied this new rule?
Oh no, not at all. I'm hoping somebody does. I'm waiting. I'm waiting to be tested, but I think so far we're good. So far we're good.
So, coach, clearly you have a tall order to climb ahead of you, and not just because UE hasn't been in the Final Four in 16 years. The last time they were in the Final Four, 2009, they made the finals, made it to Game 3 of the finals against an Ateneo dynasty. And I remember vividly because that was my first year as a college student, and I was like, "Oh wow, this UE team, they're good." But it just so happens that that was the last time they made the Final Four. They've come close, I think, two times in 2014, and then again last year when it looked like almost a sure shot that they were going to make the Final Four. But then they come through short. And for a school with 18 UAP titles, a school that holds their men's basketball accomplishments in the UAP to high regard, that's kind of torture, particularly for many of the fans who were there for the early 2000s, who saw UE under the likes of James Yap and Paul Artadi, and then later on Paul Lee and James Martinez and Elmer Espiritu bring this team to the Final Four, the finals, contending, and it's just been crickets since. And the UAAP has changed a lot, if we're being honest, since that time. It's as much as some people don't want to say it, those who are pro amateurism, it's not anymore just about how often you practice sometimes or how good you are as a team. It also is recruitment. What kind of recruits can you bring in? What kind of talent can you find? And not just in the Philippines, not just in the provinces, but you're getting guys coming from California, from New York, from Washington, from different parts of the States, from different parts of Europe, from New Zealand, from Australia. It's become a global game. So, with that recruitment obstacle, and challenges, sometimes money is a factor. You know, a lot of the recruits now, they're gonna ask, "What's your offer? What's my signing bonus? How much allowance am I gonna get a month? What are the perks if I go to your school?" And forgive me to the UE fans for saying this, if I can say this, compared to some of the top teams in college basketball, UE might not have the same resources as, well, we know who the powerhouse teams are. So, given that disparity, given the fact that you have to build this mindset in your players of we can compete against the best, how do you plan to make up for that difference in mentality and in terms of the resources that your school might not have, but your competitors will?
You know, I take it on as a challenge. I kind of shared with the team my whole life. I felt like I've been um, undervalued, underestimated, and so that's given me my chip on my shoulder of going into the situations like this where I'm in a position where I have to work twice as hard to get half as good. That's the mindset for me as a coach, and now that's what I'm going to be emphasizing to my team. Like, are you here for the right reasons? Right? Now, obviously, if we can't provide supposed top talent, the amount of the level of resources that these other programs can, I can't promise you this is if you're preparing to go pro, whether it's international or locally, I'm sure every coach has this experience as well. But myself and my staff, we recently, experienced me myself in Taiwan. Got Coach Alex in Korea. Um, Coach KG was with me in Taiwan, and all these guys are all PBA legends in their own right. And if that's the pitch, if you want to get to the next level, then we have the blueprint for you that we can create. We can share those. We can align our goals, your individual goals, with our team goals. And honestly, for me, if you're not coming into our program with that mindset of, oh, I wanna bring this program back to its tradition of being a UAAP contender, and you're coming in here thinking it's all about monetary gains, you're not the right guy for us anyway. I'll be honest with you. Like, any program, even at the NCAA level in the states, there's some mid-major programs that get let's say mid-tier, mid 3-star, 4-star guys, and they'll outplay these 5-star players, right? Because their why and their purpose becomes bigger than what they're being given. And so that's what I'm pitching to these guys is my why is I want to bring UE back to its glory days. And are you gonna share that vision with me? Are you gonna be enthusiastic about that? You're gonna see my work ethic is gonna be contagious. That's what I'm gonna share with you, and it's all about are you willing? Is that what you're looking for? And those are the type of guys that I'm looking for. I'm looking for those guys just like myself, who always have something to prove. There's always a brand new, slate of it's a proving ground every level you go. And so if we can find those type of guys, it doesn't necessarily have to be 5-star guys. I always say I'll take a 5-star talent over a 3-star. A 5-star character guy over a 3-star talent, 3-star character guy. I'll take character over talent. Well, obviously you need talent to win, right? But you do need those pieces, obviously. So if we can find one or two that can fit with what we have now, we'll make noise, I assure you.
Well, you do have some pretty intriguing talent in your roster right now, too. A few talents that have been in the news airwaves, different forms, social content, articles about their future in college basketball. However, I think we can confirm that since you've started practice the last week, Precious Mamaway, one of the team's MVP candidates, one of the league's MVP candidates, and the team's best MVP candidate, has been training with the Red Warriors despite some of the noise that he might transfer over the last few weeks. John Abate has come back from his vacation in Florida. He's began training. He is, it seems, dedicated to playing his final season with UE in the UAAP before he goes pro. And then you have some young, intriguing talent in the roster as well, such as a Nico Tapang, for example, who didn't get a lot of run last year as he got used to college basketball, but is someone that many people are excited for in terms of what he can provide the Red Warriors this season and beyond. So, first question, coach. The main guys from last season's team, like Precious, like John, like Nico, you expect them to be with the team moving forward? And second question, what have they shown you so far in practices?
Oh yeah, of course. Precious was the first one I actually got to talk to one on one when I first got there. I made sure that I reached out after our first practice and sat him down, and I asked him actually, Precious, what are your goals, short term and long term? And he shared with me that um, short term, obviously, he wants to bring UE to as far as he can possibly can. So his commitment on that side to the community has been tremendous. You mentioned the fact that he was possible MVP candidate, and I kind of even touched upon that his numbers can even be better, right? And that's in line with his long term goal of he said he wants to be able to get to the Euro League.
Mm,
So that with that in mind, I told him, well, that's great because now I can align my development for you for EuroLeague, not just UE,
right.
right? So it changes things because I told him that your level of work now has to go two, three, four, five times more than what you've ever expected for me to get you to the EuroLeague goal, to accomplish that goal. And he was just keeping his nod in his head, and I think it's just a matter of connecting those dots for a guy like Precious, to be honest with you. And he's been tremendous at practice. He's allowing me to hold him accountable. I told him that you can't just be our labeled best player and not be our hardest worker. And I told the same thing to John. You guys are coming in, and everyone understands that you guys have had a tremendous season last year, but right now you're back down to zero in my eyes. You got to earn my respect.
Mm,
You got to earn my trust. You got to earn your minutes. Nothing's going to be given. And so if guys understand that, I think they'll be all right. A guy like John, I was in the same position my senior year of college where I was the lone senior on my team. And it was frustrating at times, like I told them, where my work ethic wasn't reflected upon the rest of my team because they knew they had extra time. Well, when you're on your last year and you're outworking everybody, and those standards are gonna create some conflict. And I told them, I'm holding you to the highest accountability because I know you want to get this team to where it hasn't been in 16 years, just like I do.
mm,
So we're in the same boat right now. And and I told him I will do everything in my capable manner of making sure you create your own legacy here, but you got to be all in. And so far he has been, and he's shown great leadership on his end. Guys that the up and coming like Nico, I played against him in NBTC last year, I mean 2 years ago, and with Batam Chaong, so I know what he's capable of. Also surprising is uh, Rainier Maga has emerged as a possible starter for us, considering how I love his composure and running the team, and he's a dog on defense. And
yes.
and Lingo, I feel like he has star written all over him. To be honest with you,
Mm,
like he's a 3 level scorer, and he's highly coachable, and he has a chip on his shoulder as well of making sure that he gives back to the UE community the trust that's been provided him, the opportunity that's providing him, and getting this program back to where it belongs.
So I did say that we're going to take questions at 6:30, and we're going to get to that shortly. But just going back quickly on the Precious note, he said his goal is to make the Euro League, and at about six, I believe he's about 6'9", 6'10", somewhere there. There might be times that if he does want to go to the Euro League, he would have to play as like a wing, a three or a four, and not just purely a center, which is the case here in college basketball. So when you think about the developmental steps to get Precious to where he wants to get, because you said now that you know where he wants to be or where he wants to end up going to, you're going to try to get him there. Does that mean we're going to see Precious maybe expand his game, expand his range in season 88? Are we going to see pull up three pointers? Are we going to see him, you know, creating someone else screening for him instead of him giving the screen? How versatile are you planning to take Precious' game overall?
He's gonna get scary. Let's just say that. I got 5 months. I've never had a talent like Precious who I can develop, whose ceiling is tremendously high. The fact that he told me he wants to go to EuroLeague, he needs to get dynamic. We need to make him versatile. We need to improve his ability to make a great decision making off the dribble. And I asked him, "Who's your favorite player, Precious?" And he mentioned Kevin Durant, and he's in the
Mm.
mold. He has the same body frame. So
So you see Precious playing like Kevin Durant, attacking where Kevin Durant does, attacking or receiving the ball where Kevin Durant does, which is out in the perimeter, the high post, rather than just in the low post, in the low block all the time.
yeah, I mean, with the evolution of a modern big, it's not so much back to the basket anymore. And why would I impose a guy like Precious, who has the ability to face up and be quicker than guys that's going to be defending him? Honestly, I feel like he's at a disadvantage when he's trying to back someone down. But if you face him
Mm.
up and he uses that length, 1, 2 dribbles, he could be like Giannis, get to the rim and tear it down. That's what I've been telling him. Anytime you get to the basket, tear the shit down. And now we got to improve his ability to be like more like Kevin Durant. You got to kind of, I have an approach of a Bruce Lee approach of doing one kick 10,000 times instead of doing 10,000 kicks one time. So we need to make sure we get him comfortable in a primary move, just like Kobe Bryant used to say, my primary move is my pull up or my fadeaway, and then I got one pump fake on that. So that's really what we're focusing on with Precious, of getting him to play through his strength, making sure that he knows where he's gonna go to, what he's gonna do, and then have 1 or 2 counters or after that. Least like minimize his thinking and improve his decision making. I feel he's going to be off to where he wants to go and where we need him to go. As he goes, we go. To be honest with you.
Wonderful. All right, let's get to some questions now. And by the way, I'm absolutely stoked to see Precious in the offseason tournaments and watch his growth as it happens. Okay. Oh, do you know how to say the UE slogan yet? Bomba UE. Can
Yeah,
you
I'm,
say
I'm
it yet?
learning these terms. Bomba UE, uh, go fight red and white. So little by little, I'll learn these terms. I'll learn these. Even the fighting, our fighting song, I gotta memorize that as well. So I'm coming along. I'm coming along. I apologize to the youth community. It's gonna take me a while.
All right. Well, we got a question here from Bomba UE Igma Kadima. Any updates on Devin Fikes? I think he's the only holdover who hasn't practiced yet. Are you expecting Devin Fikes back in your roster, coach?
Yeah, we are actually. He's set to return, I believe, next week, early next week. We've already touched base via, I think, Instagram. I had a few messages with him, so I told him the situation. It is what it is. Where he left, and now I was hired. So he set his return date back, and he's gotta come and just like everyone else earn my respect, earn my trust, earn his minutes. So, but I'm looking forward to actually seeing what he's capable of doing and where he fits in our puzzle again of, of making sure that we maximize everyone who we got.
Awesome. Awesome. Okay, this one is from Javi, my lifestyle editor over there at All Star Magazine. How does a day in the life of UE's new coach look like? Any hobbies outside of basketball?
Uh Usually when I wake up, first thing I'm looking at is probably coaching videos. If you guys see my IG, I'm constantly right now. I'm big on Rick Pitino's show, uh,
Mm.
Rising Storm, I think it's called. I'm getting a lot of coaching tidbits from there. Gets me going in the morning. Uh, Usually when I can have time after practice, I'll go to a boxing gym like Elorde Boxing Gym. That's how I relieve my stress. I put the player who's gotten on my nerves face on that mitt. I'm just bashing that.
Oh, you actually do that? Do you actually put the face of a player in a punching bag? Because that would be hilarious, man.
But yeah, so far that hasn't been the case. I haven't needed it. My guys have been great. So
Oh my god. I think I'm wondering which of UE's guys right now would be in that punching bag first. That would be pretty funny. No, but I guess we'll find out as the season progresses. All right, we got a
yeah.
question here. How involved is the Tandoy group when it comes to UE's basketball program?
They've been highly supportive. Obviously, their support is going to play a pivotal role in our success now, as it has in the previous years, and with a fresh voice and new outlook, I think they're all in as well, and it's just little by little of the little cultural changes that I'm kind of suggesting that they've liked, and I understand the whole system of going through the protocols of making proper requests through the management pipeline, and I've been received very well, let's say.
All right, another one here from Mr. JP Manahan. He wants to ask, Coach, have you had the chance to watch UE season 87 tape? Of course, last season UE came one game away from making the final four. What did you see there? What did you like or not like that you can check in or integrate to season 88, which happens later this year in 2025?
That's a great question, by the way. Honestly, I watched the last game between UE and Adamson. I watched actually Coach Alex Cabagnon, and we were kind of just, we're peaked of what had happened. What were the little things that, like you guys said, what could we adjust as coaches that we see in this video? And some things were, they were basically 5, 6 possessions away, in my honest opinion, of getting to the next round. It was a nip and tuck game, and there were moments where guys missed assignments of defensive rotations on help defense, as well. Same thing with their pick and roll defense. Guys were hugging shooters when they should have been in the paint, ready to be in gap or tag. And for the defensive side, that's what we saw. On the offensive side, there were some moments of anxiety, obviously, in that game where they were down and they had to come back, and key turnovers kind of led to their demise, in my honest opinion. So if we can come in and teach these guys how to execute during high pressure moments and deal with those, you know, uh, learn from their lessons from last year of knowing what actions to go to, what movements generates us positive results. I think that's going to be pivotal in our success going into our next season next year.
How about your coaching staff? Now, you have some interesting names there. There was even a photo of all of you wearing a UE culture shirt. So I'm not sure if you guys are going for the Heat culture model over there, but that would be interesting. How did you come together with your coaching staff? Obviously, Alex Cabagnot is someone you've worked with for a long time now, particularly with Philam Nation too. KG Canaleta, former UE Red Warrior, Melvin Reyes, who has been with the school for a while, and you got other names there too. What made you decide to bring these guys together to be part of your squad in helping UE break this Final Four drought?
Having guys, honestly, for me, just having guys that I had relationships with is very key because there's certain things I want done in a certain way. And if you haven't really been under me, coached by me, or been alongside me in previous leagues or teams, then you won't know how demanding I am. And so that's how I kind of went about, and when I chose um, my staff. My lead assistant RJ Argamino has been with me the past few years. We won NBTC together. Last year we won with the Taiwan Mustangs, and so he knows that what I want in regards to my scouting reports. He knows the ins and outs of how I want drills done because we've been doing it our own for past few years. And then with Alex, he's been doing all my drills, and so he knows how it feels, and he knows that when you need that level of confidence in you, it comes from your work, and so he can share that with the team. And he's a nine-time PBA champion, so that level of championship experience will rub off on me, on my staff, as well as all the players. I told my guys, be a sponge with all our staff because these guys have been through it all. And it was great that the panel was looking for UE blood, and I already me and Pau has had a tremendous history where I coached him in Valenzuela, coached him in PBA, Kia, as well as KG. I coached him in Kia, and then we were together in Taiwan last year. So when you have these guys that, to be honest with you, are willing to tell me what I need to hear instead of just being yes men, that's a great level of trust on my part. To be honest with you, like to tell me if I'm doing something wrong and not be scared, or if you know uh, have these critical conversations of we may argue, but then as long as we get to the resolution of it and find a solution, that's what makes a great staff to me, that loyalty and trust factor. So that was the reasons why I brought these guys in.
Interesting. Now, I'm going to combine two questions here into one because it's related to recruitment. Pancho wants to know, do you have any prospects from your Phil Nation friends coming to UE? And number two, JP wants to know, UE just won the under 16 junior high school UAP championship and is in the thick of the race for the under 19 high school postseason. Have you touched base with that program? So, one, are you expecting some Phil foreign recruits to come and join the team? And two, have you touched base with the high school teams in terms of maybe elevating those guys to your seniors roster?
Uh, well, having Alex as the founder of Philam Nation automatically put those guys on our recruiting radar. Some of the guys that I won the championship with last year, we've already reached out to. They understand the situation of that I've had this opportunity provided to me, and they know the type of coach I am. So the parents have been really showing a great deal of interest of wanting to talk to us, and so we have several guys that I just won't disclose right now, but we have guys on our radar that I feel that would make an impact right away. I'm not over recruiting this year. I kind of like the guys that we have on our roster right now. I think it's just by need right now. In regards to the high school team, kudos to the coaches there for the amount of success that they're really exhibiting at this moment, the championship of the under 16. And I will get an opportunity to take a look at more detail of who we have on the under 19. I know Gabe Norwood already informed me that we got some dogs in the under 19 team that he mentioned and the under 16 team I need to take a look at. So they're already in our umbrella. So it'd be crazy for me not to see these guys. I'll definitely take a more in depth look at our juniors programs as we move along.
Fantastic. Now let's ask one more question because this came from YouTube and the person asking the question came to playback. So much appreciation for that. Again, if you guys want to ask questions on any podcast episode, playback is the place to be to do that. Jeff wants to know, Coach Chris, you met the trigger man, Alan Kadick, a UE legend, a Philippine basketball legend. What advice did he tell you to be successful in the UAAP?
Oh man, that's a great question, by the way, and I just want to shout out to Coach Alan Kaidik for even taking that meeting of all days on my birthday. To be honest with you, that's what made it even more special. Meeting Allen, Coach Allen, was like meeting Larry Bird, in my opinion, for me of the Philippines. A guy who you talk about a guy who scored 79 points in a game, like
Mm-hmm.
that's some legendary legendary stuff right there.
It's
this guy
crazy.
was a, this guy
Can't
was
even
a
do that in the
three-time
video game.
exactly. This guy was a three-time UAP MVP. So I was more than open and really grateful at the fact that my a good friend of mine, Boss Pal Villanueva, set that up for us. Honestly, when I asked him about what it meant to him to play for UE, it made me even more to want the job because to him, he understood that UE didn't really have the resources like all the other schools, but it was more about pride during their time of
Mm,
of rewarding the people who trusted them with giving them an opportunity to showcase themselves and gaining a education at a high level school. And some of the tidbits that he shared with me were from his college as well as I was asking him questions of how'd you feel when you took over Ginebra? He was honest with me. He said, Coach, I really didn't think I was ready, but then when I think Coach Jacobs had told him, I'll be right there with you. We'll be supporting you. And Coach Allen's a competitive guy, and he's willing to take on great challenges like that, and he took it on, and he said, you just got to take it day by day. And create an identity for the team. Well, we all know he never has that never say die identity, so that was already established for him there. And he just said, just uh, be consistent of who you are. Always remember where you came from and how you got there, so that when you do experience some level of success, you don't forget those steps that got you there, and don't let the success get to your head. And man, after that conversation, I was ready to run through a wall for him. So I'm gonna
that's
share that with my team now. So hopefully they'll be ready to run through a wall for me in the next few months to come.
That is just absolutely wonderful. And just to be around a presence like that, someone who's seen his share of battles and success in the Philippine basketball scene, college, pro, even international, I'm sure there are just absolutely multiple lessons to take away and apply to your own everyday life too. So, Coach, when are we going to get to see your UE team in action? Are you joining any upcoming off-season tournaments, preseason leagues? I know that we're still ways away from Phil Oil, Pinoy Liga, but is there anywhere else that you guys might be practicing? Any tune-up games happening? Where can we find the early preview of this new era of UE basketball?
Um, we're in prep to. I believe we're already set or getting the details down to join Phil Asia basketball
Phil
with
Asia, okay.
the Reyes. I
Right.
I believe I think we're ironing out the details and making sure that we're in that. I know we're in Phil Oil in May. And we'll definitely be having tune-up games before maybe probably another 2 weeks right before Phil Asia starts. So that'll probably be the first time that uh, everybody will get to see this new UE team.
What are practices like at this point? Are you kind of just establishing your system, letting the guys know what you'd like to see on the basketball court, what you want to see them run in both ends of the floor? Or are you shifting it to fourth and fifth gear already, where you're thinking, okay, these are the specific, set plays or out of timeout plays that we're going to be utilizing right away? Is it more of a building the foundation at first, or are you guys already, because you're kind of taking over a team that had like its own foundation, right? Which some coaches might look at and be like, "Oh, I don't have to tear this down. I just need to add a different layer to it so that they can achieve greater heights." So, where's your mindset in terms of the team building?
Well, actually, when I first got hired, I had the opportunity to watch them right away. They had a scrimmage. It was 2 weeks ago on a Friday. I told Coach Melvin, just let them play. I'm just gonna sit there. I want to see what their natural instincts are. So they gave me a clear understanding of how guys like to play, and of course they went to their actions from the previous year. So I wanted to also see what did they revert to on a natural basis. And uh honestly, I've had to really just implement the philosophy of how I want more ball movement, more player movement. I don't want the ball to stick to just one individual. I want guys to be able to make the reads based off whatever defense is being thrown at us. I will give guys creative freedom in our structured system on the offensive side. That's what I told them. But on the defensive side, you will execute um, perfect rotations, perfect pick and roll coverages. I will define your defensive reality. That's what I told them. It'll make things less, you know, random for them on the defensive side. If you're supposed to be where you're supposed to be, then you did your job. Uh, that's what I feel, great teams are. They understand how to make complex simple. And so the conceptual side, I think, is really what's being emphasized right now in our first full 2 weeks. Making sure guys understand how to play the right way. I told them actually today of we still have a me mentality from our scrimmages that we've been having, and we got to root that out. We got to detox that away from us, that me mentality, and create an us mentality of you have to know who the ball should go to. You have to know matchups that we need to exploit, and don't just do things for what you want to do. Always have the best intentions for the team always in mind.
Defense is tricky because it doesn't come as naturally to young players as offense does. Because a lot of the young players growing up, even for us who might not be amateur or professional basketball players, we gravitate when we go to the park, we gravitate towards shooting the hoop, right? Taking jump shots, driving into the rim. We're not putting the ball down and getting on a defensive stance and moving our feet laterally. That's not our definition of how to spend a summer break afternoon. So naturally, young guys and girls, of course, will look to, okay, how can I impact the game by scoring? Because that's what we know. That's what we grew up doing. That's what for a lot of guys, they grew up idolizing Kobe, Jordan, LeBron, and nowadays Steph, Luca, because these guys were natural killers on the court. But not everyone is looking at the way Tony Allen would play defense. Except if maybe you're a coach, then you're definitely looking at that. Or maybe not looking at maybe instead of watching Scottie Pippen, or my better example, instead of watching how Michael Jordan would pick someone up 94 feet and give them pressure, they'd instead be watching, okay, how does Jordan do his turnaround? How does he do his fadeaway? So in defense also, it's not exactly something you just learn overnight. You got to study it every day. You got to practice it every day. Like you said, pick and roll coverages. I mean, the best coaches know how to get their players to change schemes on defense. In the snap of a finger, or the blink of an eye. You see someone like Eric Spoelstra. He's like, okay, 1 second his team is switching everything. Another possession, they might be in drop coverage. Another possession, they might be trapping the ball handler when with a hard show. Another possession, they might do a full court press that goes into a zone defense, right? So it involves a lot of mind work and a lot of trust, because if you're gonna leave your man in the man-to-man defensive coverage to cover someone who's suddenly free because two defenders went to the ball, you gotta trust that your teammate also has your back, so that if you leave your guy, he's ready to rotate and fill in those gaps. So how do you kind of shift the mentality of young players in the college scene to kind of thinking, okay, instead of impacting the game with my scoring, I'm gonna find a way to impact the game with three straight defensive stops, or protecting the rim, or forcing a turnover. How do you make them flip that switch? Is it by basically telling them something simple like you're not gonna get minutes if you don't play defense? Or is it something you have to work on every day until the light bulb just goes off for them?
Yeah, for sure. We talked about culture earlier, and those are a great coach like Kelvin Sampson mentioned that you have to know what to emphasize. Great, you emphasize if you want to emphasize defense upon your team, you have to do it every single day. Something that has to become a habit, obviously, and developing great defensive habits doesn't happen overnight. You have to drill it. You got to drill perfect closeouts. You got to drill perfect rotations. You got to drill extra effort. You got to drill toughness, take a charge, jump on 50-50 balls. Those are things that you got to develop on a day to day. And if guys understand that that's who we are, that's how we play, that becomes part of your identity. You touched on we're how our shirts kind of look like the Miami Heat. Well, I'm a big Spolster guy,
Mm.
and I've been a
You and
big
me
fan
both.
of yeah, I'm a big fan of him, Pat Riley, and the Heat culture. I've loved how Pat, from wherever he's gone, from Lakers to Knicks, has brought that toughness. And so I'm from Jersey City, New Jersey. So if you can't be tough on my team, you won't survive.
Mm-hmm.
And so guys need to understand that, and that's what I emphasize. And guys will buy in when you kind of you applaud that kind of behavior on a day to day, and they understand that just because they're not scoring in front of me, I can see the other little things, possibly the defensive side that made an impact on winning.
Fantastic. Fantastic. And by the way, Anthony Burdett, who was our guest in the last episode, just commented with a fist bump and a 100 sign, which is modern day lingo for you go, Coach Chris. Coach, super, super, super appreciate you for coming on the podcast. It has been great talking with you, and I'm excited for what you have in store for this UE men's basketball program. It would be great to see UE get back to the Final Four conversations again in the UAAP, and I feel that by having you there, leading the way, steering the ship, it's one step forward towards accomplishing that. So, how about we just end this episode with you giving a final message to the UE community and what to expect for the months to come?
Uh, First off, thanks for having me, Naveen. It was an honor to be on your show this first time, sharing insights with you, and great questions from your supporters there. Thanks for challenging me tonight. My message to the UE community is come out and support. I'm really uh, grateful for this opportunity of being able to bring a great level of energy back to the UE community. I want everybody engaged as we move along. I want you guys part of the process. I want you guys seeing the hard work we're putting in. We want to represent you guys with the greatest level of basketball that we can provide, so that we make you proud. Come, invite you to come shake my hand, come say hi to me at practice anytime you want. If you want me to sit in class, ask your professor, I'll come. But
I,
other than that, I'm looking forward to seeing all you guys at our games and coming to support. Thank you.
Fantastic, fantastic. Coach Chris Gavina, everybody, head coach of the UE Red Warriors. And occasionally you might see him in your Statistics 101. He might give you some pointers. He does look at a lot of analytics for basketball. Coach Chris, thanks so much. Best of luck with practices this week, and I hope to have you back on this podcast soon enough.
Thanks for having me, Naveen.
All right, that was Coach Chris Gavina, everybody. Awesome, awesome episode for those who were expecting or hoping to see Nico. Unfortunately, his Wi Fi did not cooperate once again. We're going to try to get that to work next time. He was really looking forward to interacting with all of you, but I'm sure we'll have him here soon enough. Now, quick word before I end this episode. We're recording this Monday, Feb 24. Now, if you are a DLSU student or a DLSU alumni, on Friday, February 28th, I will be giving two talks on podcasting for sports journalism classes at 9:50 in the morning and at 11:10. I will be going back to DLSU where I took up my collegiate education, earned a bachelor's degree, and if you're interested to hear about podcasting or just sports media in general, do drop by. I've been told that if you're a student or an alumni of LaSalle, you can check in on what's happening, and it would be great to interact with some of you if you guys happen to be there. So, much love in advance. Thanks to those who will show up. Another great episode. I am so happy Coach Chris came on and really gave us some substantial and significant insight into this new era of UE basketball, which I'm sure many people are very excited about. College basketball season can't come soon enough, but at least we'll have the off-season tournaments coming soon. Until then, stay with this podcast to hear about the latest developments and the latest news and get exclusive content and interviews. If you're checking this episode out on Spotify, do leave a review on our Spotify page, the Navs Effect Podcast. It would really help me out a lot. If you're checking this podcast out on Facebook, give us a follow, give us a like, share this episode, or if you're on YouTube, click that thumbs up button, hit that subscribe button, and I love you for it. I really will. Thanks everyone. Much love. God bless. Take care. See you all in the next episode. Two more this week. Can't wait to get into that. Peace.